Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Mario Chaos in the Kid Show. I'm Mario Mancini. I'm an ex-WWE wrestler and co-instructor at Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling in East Haven, along with Paul Roma, Big Steve Tracy, and the man who's behind the glass, Paul Perez. Driving the truck would be Sergeant Ralph Murray. Seated to the right of me is a man that I watched on Jerry Springer this week. He did rather well.
Wow, Mancini. You found that? That's a legendary episode that no one's been able to get their hands on for almost 20 years. But go ahead, Mancini.
And as you can hear, he is my brother in crime here. He is the guardian of chaos. Big Daddy, the 2019 inductee into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Big Daddy, how's everything going?
Well, Mancini, I still think that whole Hall of Fame thing is a work. You know that, right? I know Joe Bruin. Listen, we go back. Listen, I've said it before, back like 8 tracks. I knew Bruin when he was a snot-nosed little kid running around as a groupie for all the groups up there in New England and Northeast. He's a good man, that Joe Bruin. I love him. But I'm still starting to think that the photos that I'm seeing, the word that's out there, I'm starting to think that maybe this is a work. So fans, if you're interested, there's going to be a lot of famous people there on June 7th and 8th of 2019. The New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, Fan Fest 7, all access entertainment. Paradise Alley is a huge part of it as having a table up there. It's everybody from Honky Tonk to Greg Valentine. I don't want to get crazy here. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get into the new year.
Big Daddy, let me tell you something about
But
Joe.
Mancini, no,
Joe
I'm
Bruin.
not done here,
No,
Mancini.
ahead.
I'm not done. What happened and where did you get that Jerry Springer tape?
I just happened to stumble across it, Big Daddy. It was quite entertaining.
Wow.
You had the crowd going, and Jerry himself.
Well, Jerry Springer's an excellent guy. You know that, right?
Well, I met him once.
Yeah, well, I met him a couple of times. Nice guy.
I yelled at him.
You yelled at Jerry Springer? How does that happen?
Well, I'm going to tell you how it happened. It was back in the day. I'd have to say it was between 2006 and 2008, where I would go on pay-per-view for $9.99.
Well, Mancini, what were you getting on pay-per-view? Is this back to that whole fluffer thing?
No, close. I was getting the uncensored Jerry Springer shows.
Whoa.
Where not only did the women fight, but they fought naked. So,
kind of like what happens down here at the Paradise Alley
Professional
Wrestling Training Center
not exactly
on Tuesday nights for Mario Chaos. Right now, he's wearing nothing but a jockstrap.
So, Big Daddy, this is what happened to me. So, say the show was called Bizarre Jerry Springer, right? So I would get that. And you get addicted to those things because they're a lot of fun, right?
You got issues.
So then you would, let's say you would get, Crazy Nights Jerry Springer. Well, what Jerry did was he changed the titles of the show, but they were the same show. And I thought that was a little dishonest. So there I went attending a New York Yankee game. And diagonally across from me, my buddy said, "Hey, isn't that Jerry Springer?" So I waited for him to get up to go to the men's room, and I made my way. I said, "Hey, Jerry.
Hey, Jerry.
Why don't you keep the name of the shows the same? You're ripping me off."
Mancini! So what are you saying? You didn't get the extra rub and tug?
Not from Springer, no.
Mancini, I'm going to say that to say this. Cancel my subscription to your issues, my friend.
Well, Big Daddy, speaking of a rub and tug.
Hey, isn't there one right down the road here?
Did I not screenshot, because, ladies and gentlemen, Big Daddy refuses, and we'll never get a Facebook. So
I got a face for radio.
listen, did I not put a disclaimer on the last week's show?
Folks, and I have to echo Mario's sentiments here. I want everyone to listen up and listen clearly, especially if you're under the legal age of 21 or 18. There is an explicit warning on Paul Perez's production here of Mario, Chaos, and the Kid. Okay, folks? So when you're sitting in your car or you're online or you're on your local app or your mobile device.
And your kids are in the car.
Because we're on them all. Remember, it's explicit if they're under the age, because when it says explicit, much like the group NWA, who are my brothers from another mother that are a different color, I don't give a fuck. And I'll say that to say this. Now, seated to the left of me is a man who's like an egg counter. He was on the edge and ready to crack. Here he is, the Kid. Kid, welcome to Mario Chaos Show featuring the Kid. How you doing over there?
I'm taking it all in.
Well, I tell you what, Big Daddy, we go through this all explicit warning and everything, and then we introduce a kid. What's our problem?
Well,
Of 18 years old.
listen, our problem is that the kid is over 18 years old. Now, don't get me wrong. If we were in Mississippi, it would be 16. If we were in Iowa, it would be 13. If we were in Puerto Rico, it would be 12. If we were in South America or North Korea, it might be 8. If you were in China, you wouldn't be able to allow to have a kid. I mean, I don't want to get too political here. So the kid is... Mancini, why are you looking at me like that? The kid is of legal age.
Close
so
to
if
19 now.
close to 19 now. Listen, I believe the kid is already masturbating. I'm just saying. Wait, the kid just spit up his monster. And it reminds me of the video you just showed me, Mancini.
Well, help.
Listen, you know that, folks, I hope you know this is a work. We're going to get on to professional wrestling. I want to apologize to everybody right from the rip.
Well, you gotta apologize to Saban right off the rip.
Saban, I know you're out there listening, Saban. I want to apologize from the bottom of my fucking heart. I just want to apologize. Hey, Saban, I'll give him credit. Saban is quite the play-by-play color announcer. He had a little tryout with Paradise Alley, and you know what? He held his own. Man,
I heard.
Well, you didn't hear because you didn't watch the show. I know that. You heard because I told you.
Yeah, well,
because that's how it goes with you.
His daughter has talent. She's going to be a good wrestler.
His daughter,
Juliana's
listen, not
good.
only is she a beautiful girl, a great family, smart people, she is also the bell keeper here at Paradise Alley. She was a diamond in the rough, and I heard someday she has the potential, maybe, to get into training herself.
Well,
maybe.
Well, listen, not maybe. She's currently training now. It's funny. I scared the hell out of her last night.
Oh, so listen, this is good. I hope the Sabans are listening, and not to be confused with Chris Sabin from TNA Ring of Honor. But go ahead.
So, the guys were in there getting ready to do a match, and they simulated, ring the bell, you know what I mean? And she goes, that's what I do. I go, that's what you used to do. And she got a little flustered because she thought she was going to do it anymore. But obviously, once she turns pro...
Well, she won't have to. She's going to be involved in the show.
Right,
exactly.
Right.
Well,
so.
Mancini, if anyone could get students of professional wrestling off the ground towards a career in professional wrestling, it would be Mario Mancini.
Well, I appreciate that, Big Daddy.
Well,
I've been teaching for a long time.
It's the truth, Mancini. You've been teaching for about 30 years.
Yeah, a long time.
Listen, speaking of going back, we're going back here. Before we get on to our weekly news of Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling, Friday Night Alley Fights is coming up. The Kid has a ton of breaking news from the WWE, and I know that there's a lot of fans out there of the Kid. That 18 to 30 demographic, they love the Kid. The viewer mail, Mancini, from the Kid that is coming in is over the top. It's over the top. This Kid is getting hundreds of text messages and mail from the podcast. Speaking of that, if you go to Twitter, There's also been a new category released. It's a classic, an oldie but a goodie. It is WWF star Mancini. Mario Mancini sings the classics in car karaoke.
So I make a big mistake, and I'm joking around. I'm singing a song in the car, and I send it to Big Daddy, and it's all over social media.
It goes viral when you send it to me, Mancini. And that's not the shot that you got last week at the doctor's.
Well,
I know
trust
that.
You with anything.
Did you ever piss razor blades, Mancini?
No.
That's something that you don't want to do. That means you Kid, we're just trying to get you used to the trip. You got a trip coming up to the Orient. Do they say Orient anymore? I don't know. They used to say that back in the day. The Orient. It's Asia now, Asia. I believe.
Perez says it's Asia.
The kid's going over to Perez said it's Asia?
Perez says it's Asia.
That's right. Well, if anybody would know, it would be Perez because he's multilingual, multicultural, bilingual. He may even be bisexual for all I know. But I don't want to throw that out there. So the kid... Did I just say that, Mancini? The kid is going over to Bangkok. He's going over to Bangkok.
He's going over to Bangkok. He's going over to Bangkok or Bangkok?
Bangkok.
He's going over to Bangkok?
I said Bangkok.
Bangkok.
He's going over there on vacation with the family.
Oh.
And I want to make sure he doesn't come back pissing razor blades. So that's where I want to tie this up into a little bow.
You're afraid he's going to run into I love you a long time. Love you a long time.
You remember, I know for everybody out there that remembers that song, oh, me so horny, oh, me so horny, me love you a long time. Remember that song? Who was that by the Two Live Crew?
I don't know who that was from, but there's a movie scene in Full Metal Jacket with that too.
That's right, that Full Metal Jacket. See, fans, this is what you get on Mario, Chaos, and the Kid. You get good rated G family entertainment.
Yeah, rated G.
Then you get Mario's version of Jerry Springer, which is rated X. Then you know the kid at almost 19 years old, his hormones are bouncing all over the place. And then there's the guardian of chaos who can't
you should go to Buffalo. I'm a legend in Buffalo.
Buffalo?
In Buffalo. He wanted the kid to shuffle off to Buffalo?
I'm a legend in Buffalo.
A legend.
I was going to go to Buffalo in a couple weeks, actually.
I'm a legend there.
For a Lions and Bills game.
Oh, yeah. I'm a legend in Buffalo.
Well, Mancini, let's hear one of those. But first, before we get on to a legend in Buffalo, folks, we're coming to you, as I said, live from the Diadamo and Tracy Bailbond studio here at the Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling Facility. Mario, Chaos, and the Kid. Our man behind the glass, Paul Perez. We were talking about, before we get on to Buffalo, we're still in Bangkok. Mancini.
Bangkok?
We're still in Bangkok. Right. Did anybody ever see that movie, The Hangover?
I have.
Mr. Chow.
I love Mr. Chow.
He was in Bangkok. And you know what they say in Bangkok?
No.
Oh, who bet your cock off? Oh, wait, that was Russia. Wait, I think that was, no, come on, I want to lay you. No, wait, that might have been Hawaii.
That's Hawaii.
Something like that. But I know everybody's listening for all that. I was close. I want to get on to culture and history before we get to Buffalo, because we're traveling all over the globe. Here on Mario, Chaos, and the Kid. How about my man behind the glass, Paul Perez? A lot of people don't know this about Perez. See, we're talking about, because we are multiracial here. We love everybody from every ethnicity. We don't care if you're white, black, Hispanic, Asian, Native American. We don't care what continent you're from. We don't care what country, gender. We don't care who you identify with. We here are equal opportunity at Mario, Chaos, and the Kid. So I just want to make that crystal clear to our listening audience. So back to Paul Perez. Second generation grappler. And I know that you know this, Mancini. Not only mom and dad were they luchadors. Paul Perez's cousins, and I believe you were in the ring with both these men, and then I'm going to be quiet because I'm taking over. The kid has barely said anything. Manuel and Roberto Soto.
Right.
From the WWF. That's the history of our producer. I'll bet you our producer can kick any producer's ass on any podcast. Okay? And I challenge anybody to come down to Paradise Alley Training Facility at 662 Cole Avenue in East Haven and say that to our face. Now, I may not be able to do anything about it. But I will get somebody else like Big Jim or Meadowlands Monster or Roma himself to do something about it.
The producer from my other podcast might have something to say.
Well, you know what?
And he's listening right now.
Well, I'm glad you're producing. Perez is a second-generation grappler. His cousins were in the WWF. Listen, it doesn't
His mother
get
and
in.
father were pro wrestlers.
Exactly.
They
Kid,
taught
this
him
is
how to
stuff
wrestle
you
when
need
he
to
was.
know.
Listen, they taught him how to wrestle in the basement when he was 14.
My mother broke her ankle taking the dog out last week.
Wow.
What the hell does that have to do with the wrestling in the basement?
Wow.
Hey, the kid gets it, Mancini.
Wow.
So I just wanted people to know who Paul Perez is, our producer. Listen, you know he shies away from it. He's going to slap the shit out of me once we're done with the show. You know that, right?
I do.
Perez is going to put me in a figure four, a chicken wing, or something like that because he hates when I
Worse
talk
than
about
that,
him.
Big Daddy.
He hates
Listen, the fastest pirouette elbow I've ever seen in my life. Haven't seen somebody drop one quicker than that yet.
Listen, Perez is nobody to be trifled with. He's
Hell of a
agile,
wrestler, man. They were a hell of a wrestler.
mobile,
Hell of a wrestler.
hostile, and nimbile. But let's get back to Buffalo.
I'm a legend in Buffalo.
Did this happen in Buffalo? Was that the night that Chief Jay Strongbow said something to you about being able to take maybe or not take Butch Reed's finish?
No, it wasn't that. It was walking through Buffalo Airport with Paul Roma and Gino Carabello, and both of them betting me $50 a piece that I couldn't make it through the airport to the rental car company bare ass naked.
Bare ass naked? Isn't that a band?
It is bare ass naked, but I had my shirt on. So I had shorts on. So you have to understand, back in the day, Buffalo Airport, very small. So
well, kind of like where this story may be going, Nancy.
So
Go
going
ahead.
through the strip of the airport inside, you go to an escalator, and at the very top of the escalator was the rental desk. I mean, after you get done with the escalator, if you leaned over, touch the counter of the rental car company. So that was the bet. Once my hand hit that counter, that was it. So I ripped my shorts off. And I started walking through Buffalo Airport bare ass naked.
Did you have your wrestling boots on?
No, I had sneakers on. So
sneakers?
So now listen.
In your birthday suit?
Sneakers, a t-shirt.
In the middle of Buffalo International?
No bottom. So
holy cremona.
I made it through the airport, and I only had to take 2 feet to get on that escalator. And who was to the far right that I didn't see was a police officer. But it wasn't only a police. It wasn't only a police officer. It was a female police officer.
And so, what did she say when she saw the dinghy?
She stopped me immediately. And Roma and Carabello went up the escalator and went, "Bye, Mancini." And I was 19, so I was like, "No, you leave me here!" Right. So they came back down, and Roma took her to the side and talked to her. To this day, I still don't know what he said to her, but she came over to me and said, "I need you to wear pants every time you walk through this airport." And then, Big Daddy, we were going to that airport every 3 weeks because we would fly to Buffalo, rent a car, go over the Peace Bridge to Canada, and do the Canadian thing. Because Vince just cut a deal with Stu, his territory.
Well, the Canada, WWF in that time in the 80s and 90s was huge in Canada.
Right, just took over Stu's territory. So, in exchange for Stu's
Calgary
territory.
Stampede.
Right, in exchange for Stu's territory, of course, the Heart Foundation would get the straps and all that other stuff.
Well, let's get back to your penis.
So, she said,
look, the kid's turning red.
If I see you with a pair of shorts on in this airport, I'll arrest you. And I put on my shorts right away, and I guess the bottom line is I didn't get the $100, so I lost.
So you're saying they set you up? They worked you, Mancini?
Well, listen, it wasn't really. It was kind of really a shoot because if I made it to the top of that, if I slammed my hand on that rental desk, I would have had $100.
Well, I got good news for you. I wasn't there, but I know what Roma said to that female cop.
I was handicapped?
No. Roma slid open his sweatpants.
No.
she saw the fucking Longini, which is literally...
Roma, that is not what happened, and I did not say that.
Well, this was the 80s.
No.
Well, listen to me. I think Roma said to the female, this is back in the 80s, am I correct?
It is.
All right, so no, everybody's exempt from this because nobody that's in the current lives were around anybody. Everybody was single. So I want
well, Roma was the ripe old age of 26. So.
All right, well, let me just say that to say this. I was told that's what Roma did.
No, Roma. I was there. Roma did not do that.
You don't know that for sure, man.
I do. I was there.
You said you didn't know what he said.
I said I didn't know what he said.
He just got finished saying he didn't know what Roma said.
I said I don't know what he said, but I know what he didn't do.
Perez, back me up on this. Mancini, let's listen.
Perez not going to back you up on it. Perez would go in an empty mall parking lot. And he would take a rental car and go 90 miles an hour and then pull up the emergency brake.
Hey, Perez is one odd character, isn't he, Mancini? Huh? He's kind of like a larger version of Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, he is.
A little eccentric.
Yeah.
Very cerebral.
Listen,
you never know. He's the type of guy that'll come up behind you in a ninja outfit, maybe have his way with you, and you wouldn't even know about it.
Well, listen, Perez, he picks his spots. Let me tell you a famous story. Let me tell you a famous story about Perez.
Can I say Wepa?
Listen. But this is how else Perez is too. So.
Whatever happened to Buffalo?
That was it. That was the story. So listen, we
have 2 innings.
Listen, we go up. We go up to Syracuse. We go up to Syracuse to do TV, right?
We're Mancini. The kid is crazy tonight.
We go up to Syracuse to do TV, right? For WWF. We go up to Syracuse to do TV. Perez never came back.
Perez
years?
never came back. Where did he go?
It was Binghamton. You never came back.
How could you hear him behind the glass?
We went to Binghamton, New York. We went to Binghamton, New York, and he never came back. How long were you up there for? 3 years. He stayed up there for 3 years. He never came back.
Perez is like a mountain man. Is that what you're saying?
We went to Binghamton, and he never came back.
Binghamton, of all places, Binghamton. Wow. Hey, listen, kid, are you awake?
I'm awake.
This is what you need to learn. Are you listening to Mario? Are you listening to Perez? I don't know how Mancini hear him. He must
I'm
have
making
the
sure I
earpiece.
know not what to do when I go to Buffalo.
Wow. Could you know?
Let me know if the Diamond Dust Cafe is still
The Diamond Dust.
Unless I need a quick $100.
Hey, speaking of the Diamond Dust, Mancini, I'll never forget the barmaid from the Diamond Dust.
You went to the Diamond Dust Cafe?
I was at the Diamond Dust.
In Buffalo?
In Buffalo. She came up to me. Nipples as hard as little rocks.
Wow, you were at the Diamond Dust
and
Cafe.
She rubbed her jugs up against me, and they felt like little erasers. That's my memory of Buffalo. I was with the giant Primo Carnera. You've seen video on Primo. Let me tell you something. They're 7 feet tall. And let me tell you something. I'll get back to the shower scenes. It's symmetrical.
Oh.
Remember we talked about that once before? I don't want to get crazy because everyone's going to think we're homophobes here. And we're not. I lost my train of thought, Mancini. Anyway, I was talking about the giant Primo Carnera.
I thought we were talking about the Diamond Dust Cafe.
Yeah, well, it was the barmaid. She had these little... You literally could
listen.
Glass with him.
Listen, across from the Diamond Dust Cafes where we stayed, it was a Days Inn in Buffalo, right? And there was a restaurant connected to the Days Inn. So I loved the salad bar there. So I sat there, and I must have made 5 trips to the salad bar, right? Morocco came down. The magnificent Morocco came down. And he looks to the left only at the salad bar, and he goes, "It looks like Locust hit the salad bar." And then he turned to the right and he saw me there and he goes, "That's just Mancini."
Hey, that's a pretty good Morocco imitation.
Listen, man, we're in Columbus, Ohio, right? First time I ever saw one of these before in my life.
Wait, hold on. Does the kid know who Don the Magnificent Morocco
Right.
is?
So now
You
listen.
do?
Yeah.
Say it.
What?
You know him.
Yeah, I know him.
Thank
All right,
God.
so
Go
now,
ahead,
so
Mancini.
now we're in Columbus, Ohio, right? It's me. I never saw one of these before in my life. It's me, Mike Sharp, Don Morocco, S.D. Jones, King Kong Bundy, Jose Luis Rivera, right? We walk into this
Talk about your legends.
We walk into this Pizza Hut, and there's a bar there with lights over it, and I'm staring at it, and I go, "What is that?" So the girl, the hostess, comes walking up to us, and Bundy takes his two fingers and pushes me in my back, and he goes, "Ask her, Mancini." I go, "Is this all you can eat?" She went. She looked at me with a somber face because she's looking at Chris, you know, she's looking at Bundy. And she goes, "Yes." I said, "Sweetie, you better tell him back there to start flinging some dough because we're starving." So,
Well, Bundy was amazing. Let me tell you something about Bundy. This is just my opinion. One of the best big men ever.
Oh, yeah.
I think he was ahead of his time. Listen, we could talk about all the big men you want. Talk about Bam Bam Bigelow. He was one of the best. Obviously, Andre the Giant, The Big Show. I mean, the list goes on and on, even back to Ernie the Cat Lad. But I will say this, an unbelievable athlete.
well, this is
Unbelievable.
All the names you just mentioned, Big Daddy, we're talking about getting down to brass pro wrestling tacks. When you mention all those big guys, the one thought that comes to my mind is, who was the most agile at that size? And Bundy has to be the leader of that pack, along with Bam Bam Bigelow.
Listen, Bundy for sure. In the 80s, nobody could move like Bundy.
yeah,
Into the 90s, but Bam Bam Bigelow. I had the opportunity to work with Bam Bam a couple of times.
But Bam Bam was considerably smaller than Chris.
Well, Bam Bam was, I want to say, Mario, he probably was every bit of 380.
Yeah.
Maybe 390. He was under 400, but Bundy. I feel weird calling him Chris, even though he kicked my ass
Well,
like
see,
3
I
or
got
4
very
times.
close. I got very close to him, and
He was 450,
I
right,
really
Mancini?
felt bad. I'm sitting there in the dressing room, right? It's like a month before WrestleMania 3. So I'm sitting there in the dressing room just BSing with everybody, right?
That was at the Pontiac Silver
And I
Dome.
look over at Chris, and he's looking at me, and I go, what's up? He goes, "It's over." I go, "Chris, what do you mean it's over?" He goes, "Mario, it's over." I go, "It's not over. Don't say that." He goes, "What was the main event last year in WrestleMania 2? I said, "You and Hogan in a
It was
cage."
Hogan and Bundy
In
WrestleMania
a
2.
cage. He goes, "Yeah, what am I working this year?" I go, "Hillbilly Jim and a were you and another midget."
Wait, we don't say midgets. Remember
no,
what the
no.
Mario Kart? It's minis. Minis.
Small people, little people. So he was tag teaming with a little person.
It's a great show, The
But
Little
Chris
Couple.
looked at, you know what he said? Looked at me and he said, "That's okay. Because I saved every nickel. Every nickel."
Listen, Bundy was very savvy. Remember something, Mario, because this is when you retired. You were off into law school. You were off raising a family. Bundy made an incredible living doing the independent pros. How do I know? Because I was mired in the independent pros and crossed paths with him. And you're right. He traveled smart. One of these days, kid, we'll talk about the story about Bundy and his wife.
Well, even
a great man.
even the Godfather himself, Tony Delamere, you know, when he let me know about this show at the Westchester County
Tony
Center,
Capone.
Tony Capone.
Tony Capone.
Tony Capone. When he let me know about this show at the Westchester County Center, I felt kind of bad because, you know, I was rusty. I didn't work at 7 years. And I didn't really want to do it, but he told me he was putting me with Bundy. So I had to do it. In fact, Capone will tell you himself, this is the truth. And as I said before, when everybody listens to my podcasts, like In Your Head Wrestling and everything, I'm brutally honest.
Very candid, Mancini.
Even to my detriment. This is to my detriment.
Well, I don't know about that.
This is to my detriment. So I walk into the Westchester County Center. Perez
one hell of an arena.
will get this.
Kid, are you listening?
Listen,
Let's not lose the kid here.
Perez will get this. I walk into the Westchester County Center. Empty arena. The popcorn hits me in the nose.
The proboscis?
Yeah, the smell of it. I walk in the arena, in an empty arena, and the wrestling ring is sitting right there, right? So I didn't know this was going to happen. I drop my bag, I walk up the ring stairs, and I lean over the top rope. And I'm looking at the ring in the arena, and I just lost it. I lost it. I was crying like a 3-year-old.
Where was I at that point?
I don't,
Mancini?
Big Daddy, I have to be honest with you.
I was with the Condor.
I'm going to have to look you in the face and be honest with you and tell you that I don't remember you being there that night.
You son of a bitch.
I don't remember you
really,
being there.
Mancini. See that? Listen, and here it is. Okay? This is the story of my career. Okay? Because the last time I shared a locker room with somebody, it was with a mop. Mancini. This is the story. I've sent you these videotapes. I'm the most well-known unknown. Mancini, I was with you that night with Mark Thomas, the Condor, Jim Cornette, the Samoans.
I don't remember Jim Cornette being there. I remember
Bruno.
I sat with Bundy. That's the night of my life because I sat with Bruno.
Go ahead, keep telling the story, Mancini.
I sat with Bruno for over an hour. And I finally got everything off my chest of what he meant to me. And when I was done, he said, Mancini, I wish you were my son. I mean, I got everything off my chest to Bruno, and Chris was sitting right there.
That's a great story, Mancini. It's very heartfelt.
But Capone walked up to me very gingerly, and he just looked at me, and he said, while I was bawling my eyes out, and he's like, are you okay?
Well, Tony Capone was a hell of a promoter.
Oh, let me tell you something. Smart guy. Let me tell you something. He came
smart guy.
He came into the wrestling school, and he saw me, and I said, it's really rough. You know, I don't know if you could take it on. And you know, I was a little rough with him.
He was no slouch. He was no small man.
Listen, this is a true story too, and I'm going to send him this podcast, and when he hears it, he's going to laugh.
I hope Tony is listening. I love Tony Capone.
I'm going to send it to him.
He was good to my career,
I love him too. Listen, he's a great guy. He's sweet guy.
And let me tell you something. He paid me handsomely.
What sweet guy. Listen.
He treated the talent like you wouldn't believe.
Listen.
That's why they all worked for him, Mancini.
So Big Daddy, you made me lose my train of thought.
What's the story of my life, Mancini? Listen. This is why. Listen, let me ask.
Wait a minute. This is Tony Capone. Tony Capone. Listen.
All the women like it. So Matt is tongue-tied.
He comes into the wrestling school, and I tell him it's really rough.
I have no idea what I'm saying.
Then I tell him the cost of it and everything, and he brings me to his car, right? He brings me to his car, and he opens up his trunk. And there's just a massive sea of porn.
How do we always get back on the subject of your porn?
A massive sea of porn, and my chin just dropped, and he started laughing because I told him my goddess was Nina Hartley, right? So,
well, her ass was like an apple.
Listen, this guy was so. Let me tell you something. This guy was so sweet. She played Show World in Manhattan.
Grande culo.
He invited me down there, and I actually met her because of him. So, I looked at his trunk, and I said, "We definitely can work something out."
Look, the kid is Googling Nina Hartley right now. Here, Mancini, do me a favor while I got you here. And I know you've seen it, okay, because you got heat with me now, Mancini. Just hit the play button for 30 seconds, then I'm going to bring the kid into it and see if you remember that. Do you remember that arena? Do you remember any of that, Mancini? Because that's the same damn night that you were there in that same damn arena. And there I am. With Jackmaster John Diamond and Tough Tony DeVito.
That can't be the same night.
It's the same night, 1999, the NAWA Slam Jam from the Westchester County Center. Because you know what, Mancini, when I go home, and I'm sorry, folks, that I'm screaming, let me tone it down.
Where's my match, Big Daddy?
I have it. I have it on my videotape. You and Bundy. I have it. I'll send it to you. So now,
listen,
you got heat with me, Mancini.
That night,
Pete.
This is how close Bundy and I are. That night,
Well, everybody's listening.
Bundy walked in. I hugged him. We separated from the hug, and he goes, Brother, go get my money.
Get my money.
I walked over to Capone. I said, Bundy wants his money. He goes, okay, no problem. I walked it back over to Chris. I go, here's your money.
Oh, Tony was very generous. Again, listen, he worked with Paul Heyman. It was originally supposed to be him and Heyman that were going to do the NAWA, and he was going to be involved with ECW, which was Eastern States, throwing Joey Styles, with Taz, everybody. He had a lot of stars. Tony Capone was very influential.
But one night, I really wanted to choke him one night. I just got out of work. I'm getting my girls. Right? I'm getting my girls. And he calls me up and he goes, you got to come to New York. I go, what? He goes, you got to come to New York. I go, why? He goes, well, I booked Bret Hart, but he wouldn't work for me. I go, well, why wouldn't he work for you? He goes, yeah, you didn't know me. You know, he doesn't know the payday, right? So he goes, I told him I was your cousin, so you have to show your face here. I told Bret we were related, so you got to come. I went.
Well, guess what, Mancini?
That was right after his concussion. Bret didn't even know where he was.
Well, guess what? I worked with Bret the Hitman Hart for Tony Capone at Orange County, New York, at the Orange County Fairgrounds in Middletown, New York, where I was commissioner for Bruno Sammartino and for the NAWA, and was lucky enough to interview and be in the same ring with the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, and that is Bret the Hitman Hart. So not only was I fortunate enough to be able to work with Bret, I also worked with the Anvil, God rest his soul. So I also owe that to you, because Bret Hart ended up working for Tony Capone. He came in.
Yeah, I went up there.
He got paid thousands of dollars.
I went up there.
When you
for
talk
him.
to Tony, ask him about that.
I never asked Tony.
Taz was also on that same show. Yes, unbelievable. Like I said, Capone, even when he brought in, I send you the videos with the Sandman and stuff like that. Tony Capone was something, and I hope he does end up hearing this, and I hope he's doing well. And you know, you're in our thoughts and prayers, Tony. You were a great man, and he had that wacky. Did you ever meet?
He still is a great man.
Ken Lee? No, I haven't talked to him. I know he's still a great man, but I haven't talked to him. I haven't seen him in years.
I took him to the WWF, a TV taping one time. He was very uncomfortable.
How about the wacky guy that used to work with him, Ken Levy?
He was uncomfortable. I said, "You want to go in the back?" And he just shook his head. I think a guy like Tony, he was a very caring guy. He
Very emotional.
Very emotional Italian, very emotional. But I think he believed in his heart that everybody should get a square chance. Everybody should get a fair shake.
Yes, he was good to all the talent.
And he knew when he first saw that setup back there and he saw how the WWF ran, he knew he wasn't going to get a fair shake.
It's overwhelming, my friend.
He knew he wasn't going to get a fair shake.
Well, listen, he did well out of New York City. He had, every major star that ended up going to the WWF and WWE worked with Tony Capone.
He had a great gimmick, man. He took a stretch limo to the ring.
Yeah, well, listen, again, Tony was a great guy. And listen, how many minutes in are we, Perez? We're just going to keep rambling on, Mancini, because, listen, we have cut the kid out of this whole thing. And I hope he's listening, Tony. I hope
we would like to go to the WWE report right now. Let's go.
No, we're not going to that. You know what? Fuck the WWE.
Vince, once again, I did not say that.
Mancini, I'm not saying
that was Big
Vince.
Daddy, the guardian
saying.
of chaos. I would never say that about the WWE or Vince McMahon or anybody related.
Give a fuck.
Employees, heirs, assigns, agents. I would never ever.
Mancini, when you're a man that has nothing to lose, who cares? And I'm not saying this toward Vince, Shane, the McMahon family. They're great people. Are you kidding me? They own this business. It's towards the product. This is no reflection on the McMahons.
Listen, I'm just hoping when
I love the McMahons.
I'm just hoping when Taker gets inducted, I'm invited. I should be invited.
Well, you should be invited. Do we want to go? Listen, quickly, we'll talk about Paradise, and then the kid and I we're gonna get to the WWE and whatever news that we have, because this is diversity of this. Not only are we racially and sexually diverse, I like to say that. I like to throw that out there. We are also diverse in our pro wrestling and our podcast also. Quickly, I want to go to Paradise Alley before we get on to the WWE. Folks, coming up, I want to talk about the company quickly. We know who the 4 owners are. We don't have to go through that spiel. Mancini, Roma, Perez, and Big Steve. And I know you're listening, Big Steve. He got nice hair, Big Steve.
You know what? His hair pisses me off because I'm losing mine. That kid, he's got the same hair that he had in 1988. He's got the same hair.
The kid has got nothing on Big Steve when it comes to hair.
If you look at him, Big Steve, quickly, you see Mike Francesa.
How could you look at him quickly when he's large enough to be in 2 zip codes at the same time? You know, one time they came up behind Big Steve, the police, and they said, break it up. That's how big he is.
6'6".
Okay? 6'6" and damn near 400 pounds.
No, don't say 400 pounds. He gets pissed.
What would you rather be, pissed off or pissed on? Well, let me not ask Mancini and his whole
Don't
porn
ask me
thing.
that.
And folks, if you're listening,
don't ask me that.
Go out there and Google, and this is from the Jerry Recco and morning show on WFAN with Boomer and Gio. They have Jerry Recco and they have the producer there. What's his name? Perez, the producer in the morning show. He's a great guy, bald guy. But they were talking about porn. If you Google porn, Josh McGowan, the quarterback for the New York Jets in Tampa Bay, he's very much open about porn and what he is. So, folks, Google Josh McGowan and porn. I learned that from the morning show with Boomer and Gio and Jerry Recco and Al Hughes. That's who it is. They have their own podcast, and we're competing with them. WFAN. I was on there this morning, my friend.
I was sorry I couldn't hang in the car and hear it, Big
Mancini,
Daddy.
you sound like you have a cold.
I have a tad of a cold.
You have a little
I'm
cough,
still debating the
congestion.
pissed off and pissed on.
Josh McGowan, porn. Getting back to Al Hughes and Boomer and Gio and all that, so we're competing with their podcast. And I know they're listening to us. I know. But I was on with Evan and Joe from the morning show on WFAN right before Mike Francesa. So it's funny that you should be talking about Francesa and Big Steve. I was in a urinal one time next to Mike Francesa. He's no Big Steve Tracy. Okay, let me just say that. Let me remind you someday to tell you the story about Ray Parker Jr. in the Bahamas. Boy, I tell you, someone needs love just like you do. Anyway, we'll talk about Ray Parker at another time. We're going off on a tangent here. Getting back to Big Steve Tracy, he will be your next mayor of this town. Make no mistake about it.
East Haven, yeah?
What else were we talking about, Perez? Because I run around everything here.
I think I'm going to go with pissed off.
Josh McGowan, porn. You're going to go with pissed
I
off.
can't go with pissed on.
Did you ever pee on anybody in
No,
the shower?
I can't. No.
Let me tell you a story.
I could just see Rachel's face and go, hey, "Can you pee on me?"
Why would we
She
bring
would
up
be
names?
she'd leave it. She'd get in her car and go. But this is how she would respond, though. She would go,
Folks, do you see what happens when you complain about the explicitness about our
she'd
podcast?
Rachel would go, "No, I'm sorry.
We go 10 times overboard.
Rachel would go, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that."
Sorry. Say it again in a deep voice, Mancini.
Well, listen, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. Well, I have to lean forward.
We are the Howard Stern.
You know how many times
I've
looked at her and said, "I don't know a fucking word you said." She laughs.
Perez, I don't even listen. We're out of control here. Friday Night Alley fights, kid.
December 14th.
Did you say anything yet, kid?
I was just
Mancini,
thinking about...
and seated to the left of me.
No, you introduced
him.
45 minutes in.
Listen, Mancini, I know his mother's listening, but I don't really care. I like her. She's a nice lady.
She's got nothing else to do. She's got a cast on, or at the very least,
well, she didn't help him set up the Christmas tree. You should have seen
She
the
didn't even
video.
want to put one up.
You should have seen the video of his
Your mother
fellatio
didn't want to
estate.
put up the Christmas tree?
She said it's too much of a hassle.
She said it's too much of a hassle to put up a Christmas tree?
Did you see the video of his fellatio estate?
What kind of Christmas spirit is that, kid?
Fellatio.
I called her the Grinch, and then she got mad at me.
Well, at least you call her the Grinch. Speaking of calling somebody things, how's your grandmother?
She's good.
Good.
She's good. She liked the
Wasn't it last week he called her an MFer?
Oh.
We're trying to tone down our fucking language here.
Well, let me tell
We
you
were just
something.
talking before about toning it down a little bit. I think it's worse than last week.
That's because the fans, the more you say you don't want something, the more we're going to give it to you. December That's what she said. December 14th.
That might be a lawsuit.
December 14th, Friday Night Alley Fights.
Returns here at 8 p.m. bell time. Now, Mancini, coming up for Friday Night Alley Fights, which is next week, Sergeant Murray, your United States champion, has got an open challenge to anybody inside or outside of Paradise Alley. The first round of the tournament starts next week, next Friday night, here at the training facility at Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling. Open challenge. Here's the names, kid. Break them down to me. Ty Shine, Nutrius X, his arch rival Gino. They're all going to be in the first round of the tournament for the United States champion. The open challenge by your good friend. And don't forget, he's driving the trailer. Sergeant Murray. Give me your thoughts, kid, on the open challenge. And some of the people, listen, there's a big problem with X and Gino.
I was going to say, if we're talking about first-round matchups, we could test them early.
Well, I'm not sure if they're matching up. These are stories that have been leaked to me. Kind of like, who's the lady that runs for the House Republicans there? The leaker. What's her name? Dianne Feinstein. I don't want to be too political, but she leaked all kinds of news.
Well, maybe she needs to go get some Depends.
I don't think that's what it is. I just think Dianne Feinstein doesn't know what the hell she's doing. Is that a political statement?
It could be.
Well, we live in a blue state, so I'm not sure what that even means because I'm an independent, Mancini. The best brows in the business, Ty Shine, will be making an appearance at Friday Night Alley Fights. He's in the first round. Also, is any of his hair going to be grown back from body slamming diabetes where the king, all hail King Nutrius, shaved his head? Break it down on some of the participants for the open tournament.
At least Gino might be a little bit quicker. Yeah, you had a lot of hair there. You shaved that off.
Well, listen, they've been going back and forth for quite some time, kid.
Have.
So that's what's going on Friday Night Alley Fights. Also on Friday Night Alley Fights, their house, their rules, Hakeem Ali and Nick Payne will be in action, and I believe they are defending the Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling Tag Team titles against the filthy family, Dirtbag Dan, he is a dirtologist, and Big Cal Stevens. Now, that's quite, like we've talked about the tag team division here. Give me the breakdown of that matchup.
Well, the Filthy Family's finally getting their title shot after they became number one contenders last month. So I think it'll be a good matchup. Haven't seen them against each other too much, so I think it'll be different for both teams. They haven't really seen the other team across the ring that many times, so we're going to see some new stuff rolling through here.
Well, listen, Dirtbag obviously is a dirtbag, and they're a well-oiled machine. They are cousins. They are related, kind of like Paul Perez and Manuel Soto. They are related. So that's why they make for a well-oiled machine. But the House of Pain, listen, we've talked about how huge, how big they are. They're big men, but they move around the ring like they're the Rockers. I mean, again, I always say it. I'm not exaggerating. So that matchup on Friday Night Alley Fights next week is going to be unbelievable. We have the holidays coming up. So I just wanted to, listen, we always have to have Paradise Alley and Friday Night Alley Fight news. We have a lot of breaking news coming up with Paradise Alley, folks. Stay tuned going into 2019. We have a lot of announcements. We have a lot of new talent coming in. So fans, don't miss it. This next Friday, the 14th, Friday Night Alley Fights here at the facility, 8 p.m. bell time. And listen, it doesn't get any better than that. $5 to get in. It's like being in the old Tampa Sportatorium, the old Dallas Sportatorium for World Class Championship Wrestling, even the old TBS studios for the old WCW. It doesn't get any better than Friday Night Alley Fights. It's an intimate atmosphere. You won't hear any of the raunchiness that you hear here on Mario and Chaos. So, kid, let's get on to the big time because we're running short on time. Mancini has an appointment somewhere. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. Let's run down WWE, what you saw on Monday Night Raw, what we have coming up at TLC. This is your segment. We've cut you off the whole damn show. Okay, right now, listen, I'm nuttier than a portalot at a peanut convention. So go ahead, my friend, break it down, because I did see it. You're making me watch the product. And I'm not sure. Is Mancini disrobing again? This is not the Mancini. This is not the Buffalo Airport. Go ahead, kid. Break it down.
At TLC?
I want you to break down what the product of Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, what we were talking pre-podcast.
As I said before, I'm not watching Raw until the product gets better. I do have a DVR,
So are you
though.
boycotting?
I'm boycotting Raw, but I'm not boycotting SmackDown, as we're missing it right now. So,
Well, wasn't there breaking news on The Undertaker? Mancini was just talking about The Undertaker.
Undertaker's backstage tonight, Mark Henry, Maurice. But the reason why they were there is because earlier today they filmed Tribute to the Troops.
Okay,
So
well, that makes sense.
They were there for the troops because they were all in Texas. Mm-hmm. So that's why all of them were there.
So that's tonight on SmackDown, though.
Mm-hmm.
Are you boycotting the WWE? Because listen, I watch it, I tune in because I have to for the podcast now. It is my homework. You make me do it. That's what you bring to this program. Youth, exuberance, and your demographic, which we desperately need. Your technology, your new school thoughts. You're second to none, kid, in all seriousness. The first 40 minutes, the first almost hour was all female wrestling and divas, which, listen, I'm not opposed to because they're all great athletes.
Don't call them divas.
Listen, we are equal opportunity here. I've been saying it the whole podcast because I don't want to offend anybody. I want to offend everybody. But with that being said, I'll say that to say this. I'm impressed with Ronda Rousey. I will say it. I didn't like the whole segment with Bayley and Alexa Bliss. I think she's being wasted. I know she's injured, but it's a little too much.
She got cleared today.
So she will be back in the ring.
Yeah, she's 100% cleared.
Listen, a lot of people are pissing on this idea. I'm hoping that will get Mancini's attention when I say piss. Pissed on. Mancini!
Yes, Big Daddy.
So, see, I knew that would get his attention. You know what I do like? Because it reminds me of a female version of my good friends, the Samoan Dynasty. A lot of people talk junk about them, their gimmick. But listen, Nia Jax and Tamina Snuka. That's a team, I think, which is a great gimmick that they should put together. Everyone keeps talking about how this one's not a good worker. This one hurts that one. Brie Bella hurts this one. Nia hurts this one. Look at Becky Lynch. So break briefly down. The Riot Squad is looking like they're really taking over. This is a coup for women's wrestling in the WWE to take over the first damn near hour of professional wrestling. That shows you where women's wrestling has how far it has come and how talented these ladies are.
It also shows their focus of where they want them to go. And as you were talking about teams, Riot Squad, Tamina, Nia, the women's tag titles. I know that's something everyone wants to see. I know that's in the works.
I would like to see that.
The actual belts themselves are made. They just need to introduce them. So they might be doing a tournament that leads up to the Royal Rumble, and that's where the new champions will be crowned.
What are they going to do with Asuka and Ember Moon? In my opinion, probably two of the best female workers in the WWE and NXT right now. Listen, there's a whole bunch of great workers, female workers that are coming up. And we're concentrating on this because that's what Raw did, because this is what the product has come to. But what do you do with super, uber talented Asuka and Ember Moon? I mean, what do you do with these girls?
Well, Asuka, she's got a title opportunity in a few weeks. She's in the Triple Threat TLC match with Charlotte and Becky for the title. And
listen, that's going to be an unbelievable matchup. All three of those ladies are phenomenal.
I'll tell you, if that doesn't main event, they'll lose me.
Well, this is how far it's come. And listen, look at Impact briefly for a second before we get back to WWE and the females they have there, from Rosemary to Taya Valkyrie,
Tessa Blanchard,
to obviously Tessa Blanchard, Madison Rayne. I mean, in my opinion, Tessa Blanchard might now be the best female worker in the world. That's just my opinion. She's got a lot of competition. Taya Valkyrie is no slouch either.
No.
I mean, the women's wrestling scene, I said Rosemary, there's a bunch of other girls that I'm missing, but this is what this is what we have to talk about because this is what they started with. So that segment there, and again, who knows where it's going to lead, but it leads to excellent matches because all these women are unbelievable. It's nice to see the second generation wrestlers. I don't know how much Natty Hart has left. She's constantly getting injured. I'm getting tired of that gimmick. I'm getting tired of Ronda Rousey smiling. Okay,
yeah, she does smile a little too much.
Oh, wait, Mancini said something. Yeah, she smiles way too much. She's supposed to be a bad bitch. What is going on?
I don't know. Well, Natalya, going back to that, she was supposed to turn heel, but the reason why they canceled that was because of her father's death, because they didn't want to do it, the whole thing with turning heel.
Anvil was a legend.
He was.
Mario can attest to that. I mean, nothing doesn't get better. A lot of people say things. Anvil was unbelievable. Unbelievable man. So anyway, kid, what are we looking at for time here? What's going on? What is that noise I hear in the background, kid? That led into, I don't even know if we're going to continue to talk. Mancini, you're incorrigible. Folks, Google Josh McGowan.
Why do you want to keep Googling this guy, Big Daddy? You got a man crush?
No, because that's what Alan Jerry said.
Do you have a man crush on this guy?
No, but you're showing me boners. What am I supposed to do here, Mancini? I don't know if I could say that. Boy, no one's going to listen to this podcast after this. Perez, make sure you put the explicit warning on this twice for this one. X-rated adult content. But listen, we're having a lot of fun here, folks. That's the whole thing. If you're not having fun talking about professional wrestling, this is what this podcast brings that no other podcast brings. Experience, variety, youth and exuberance, chicanery, edginess. And you know what? I'll accept the compliment that I heard that someone gave to me. We're like the Howard Stern. And that's not what we're trying to be. We're our own people. Howard Stern of Pro Wrestling Podcast. But kid, I want
that's a hell of a compliment because
that's what I was told.
He's the king. As everybody knows, he is the king. Untouchable. Talk about the Bret Hart, the Hulk Hogan, the Muhammad Ali.
Well, it's Howard Stern. Make no mistake about that. Listen, I couldn't carry one of his pubic hairs, never mind anything else. He thought he had two hairs until one of them pissed. He used $20 worth of Clearasil before he found out it was his dick. I'm just going by what Howard Stern says himself. Howard and Robin, Baba Booey, Baba Booey, Baba Booey. Mancini, we're totally off the tracks here. How much time do we have left here? Well, there's nothing more annoying than when two people are talking while you're trying to interrupt. An indecision may or may not be the problem. So anyway, success is not a random event, kid. Continue on here with the WWE news. We're almost ready to wrap it up. Mancini is super distracted. We're not sure what's going on when we're down here at the facility. It led into Drew McIntyre. Let's wrap it up here because I don't know what Mancini. He went down like a fat kid on a seesaw. That's all I can say. He's busier than a one-legged donkey in an ass-kicking contest. Listening to this podcast is kind of like wiping your ass with an olive branch. Kid, what else do you got for me here for Friday Night Alley Fights, the WWE, Impact, or Josh McGowan? Josh McGowan. Hey, listen, I hope Boomer and Gio and Al and Jerry are going to listen from the morning show on WFAN. If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. Listen. What are we turning this into? Is this a porn podcast?
Kid, was that a complete WWE report?
Mancini, you're back.
Well, Big Daddy, I have to admit, I am going to say that, and Vince will understand this, and everybody else out there in wrestling world will understand that. I am who I am. You are who you are. Perez is who he is. And the only wrestling that exists to us are the late 70s through the decade of the 80s.
Well, listen, let's not say that. You also worked into the 90s.
I did work into the 90s.
Here
I did.
Listen, you had 90s. Matches. Well, Mancini, you were in the ring with rising superstar Richard Holiday.
Well, yeah,
that was not that long ago, Mancini. You got pinned by Zachariah Gibbs.
Once a year I wrestle, but what I'm saying is the business as a whole. You know what I mean? The business as a whole, where we cared how we worked. No, we cared about mechanics. We cared about the wrestling. One compelling thing, it sounds stupid, but it's very clever. The compelling thing to me is how society looks at wrestling. And you can see that. You can see that in the South Park episode.
South Park's been around for a long time.
South Park has a pro wrestling episode where Vince McMahon and Linda McMahon are in it.
Yes, they do. Very famous.
And all the kids have a ring in the backyard, and Vince comes to watch. And all they do are cut promos. So all they do is talk a story. And the fans are going...
South Park.
Yeah, and the fans are going, this is the best wrestling I've ever seen. Nobody's thrown a headlock. It's just a microphone. And Vince McMahon's going, wow, this is great wrestling. You know what I mean? That is what wrestling has come down to, man. It's more microphone than in the ring. And when it is
Well,
in the ring,
it's changed.
and when it is in the ring, it's just a bunch of high spots. Where's the story?
There is correct.
What happened to the story? Where's the story?
Speaking of stories, let me ask you the question because he's been awfully silent. He actually looks like Harry Fuji as we speak, and I don't want to, because he doesn't do anything illegal. But me and Perez were talking about this earlier. Do you think the kid is baked? Do you think he's baked right now? Look at him. He hasn't said too much of anything. He's got a perpetual grin on his face.
Let me tell you something.
He looks like Harry Fuji.
If he was baked, there's a couple more bags of Cheetos in that box. He'd be eating them.
Do you know why I bring up Harry Fuji?
Why? Because he put padlocks around every loop of my pants?
No, because number one, and this is not a racial statement, but you get it, Mr. Fuji. I once saw Harry Fuji as an eyewitness as I was leaving World Gym, owned by Mike Katz and Jerry Mastrangelo. I walked by the gang shower, and unbeknownst to me, there was Harry Fuji in all his splendor, and he turned around and looked at me with a grin, and he pissed in the shower. I can't even say it. He pissed in the shower, and that's where I was getting to that whole point. We're at the end of the show, and this is how we ended.
And he probably still had his knife with him.
He had a smile on his face.
Let me tell you something. Anybody fucked with Fuji, cut you from ear to ear.
Fuji was one legit badass.
He was, and you know what? He commanded the most, aside from Andre.
Well,
he commanded the most respect in that dressing room.
And you know what, too? Go out and watch the classic Fuji Vice with Morocco and Mr. Fuji. Those vignettes that they used to do, folks. I know the kids' demographic. We didn't get a chance to talk about it. They had a bunch of questions. Go out and Google and YouTube Tuesday Night Titans, Fuji Vice, all the different vignettes. It was amazing. It was an amazing time.
You know what I found out just 15 years ago?
Tell me, Mancini.
Everybody went to Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia.
God bless you.
And everybody came back except for Morocco. And I said, where's Morocco? Right? Because that was my boy. I go, where's Morocco? Oh, he had an incident in the Middle East. I go, what was the incident? Oh, he got drunk and he got pissed. He got pissed at an agent and hung him out the 10th story window of the hotel by his ankles. I believed that for 20 years.
Well, why wouldn't you? Don Morocco was on The Rock. He was The Rock before The Rock was The Rock. Kid, you don't know that.
That's not what happened.
Oh, tell me what happened.
As we took our liberties back then, he had a close encounter. In that close
of a Middle Eastern kind?
Of the Middle Eastern kind, and that close encounter was of royalty.
Mancini, let me understand this. Are you trying to tell me, breaking news here, fans, Don Morocco might have banged a prince's wife or a princess? With all the stuff going on in Saudi Arabia right now and the millions of dollars with the WWE and the crown jewel, if this was
20 years, they had me believing that his nickname in the dressing room was the Monster. They had me believing that the Monster had an agent by his ankles upside down, and they're Skolin,
breaking news, fans.
and Monsoon and Strongbone. I'm like, what agent could he have had it by his ankles? But I believed it.
Oh, it was a female.
I believed it. I think Morocco was the one that walked in on.
Now, do you think that would jeopardize
Tom Zink?
Oh boy. Now, these are the controversial things that you need to start talking about, Mancini. The ratings right now, Perez is looking at me because I don't know how he does it through Shoutcast or whatever the hell it is here. The needle is pushing through the roof right now.
Tom Zink was catching. He wasn't passing. He was catching.
Mancini, you know what my famous saying is, and I said this in the prison for 25 years. Whether you're pitching or catching, you're still on the same team because a nickel ain't worth a dime anymore. And when you come to a fork in the road, take it.
Well, Big Daddy, these are some of the things that went on back in the day.
That's why this podcast is going to go on forever, because of the stories that we have. And the kid, he's doing a good job tonight.
I'm doing a great job.
You know what they used to say back in the 80s?
Well, you're going to tell us.
They didn't exactly want you to do anything with you. They just wanted you to lay back so they can play with it for a little while. So fans, when you go on YouTube and type in Mario Mancini and see me lose one match after another, after another, after another, do you know why? 'Cause I wouldn't let them play with shit. That's why.
And with that being said, a day without sunshine is like night.